Hello, ladies and gents. This is one last thing about We Happy Few. If you haven't read it already, I did a review of the gameplay alpha, which is on our main site. There is also, should be going up at the same time as this, maybe a little earlier. There is a gameplay video of my first life. It was recorded before a big update, which happened this weekend, a couple of days ago. And this is part of the reason why I'm doing this as well, because I wanted to talk about some of the bugs that I had in the game, because as I stated in my review, I played it for way too long, about over 40 hours, over two PCs, both this PC, which is not built for gaming in any way, and the PC downstairs, which is. So it's safe to say I had most of my bugs on the PC that isn't built for video games, and on the PC that is sort of more built for video games. There was certainly less bugs and less problems. There were a few bugs and a few issues, but substantially less. Largely the game is alright, bug-wise and glitch-wise. I had myself a few problems. I've made a little list to remind me over here, but I also have, because like I said, there was the update, I have the patch notes I'm going to go through, as well as I'm going through the bugs that I saw as well, to talk about the ones that were there and the ones that have been fixed, as well as some of the other things about it. So let us begin. As the patch notes start off with core gameplay and balance, I might as well start with core gameplay and balance. Balance-wise, it was kind of alright. The natural resources generation was kind of OP, because on the first island you can have a crap ton of red leaves out of the gate, a crap ton of yellow berries out of the gate, which means you can have elite healing items extremely quickly. It got to the point where I picked up so many red leaves that I ended up having to put them all. I had to put piles and piles of them into my storage chest, because that's used for crafting as well, just to clear out my inventory. But that might just be me, because of the way that I play, because as soon as I start doing loops of the island to find the bridges, find all the other things as well, all that sort of stuff, and I just pick up everything. So it might just be the way that I play. The way that I play might make me slightly OP, and as they don't generate on the other island, on Hamlin, which is when you're going to need them most likely. It's kind of nulls it a bit, so it might just be just the way that I play is sort of overuses it a bit more than anything. Yeah, they changed the sleep hours, they changed the hunger and thirst and sleep hours. They increased the amount of sleep that is needed to 12 out of 8, which was an interesting move. I didn't see sleep as that necessary. One of the things that I was that I talked about a lot was there isn't really a punishment for not sleeping. Your stamina bar gets halved, but there isn't anything else after that. It just gets halved, and for a big chunk of the time, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I play very stealth heavy, very ninjaing around at night, nicking stuff when I can. When someone turns around, nick their stuff off the table. So again, might just be a way that I play, but that might be something to try and look into. Is that if you play very stealth heavy, if you play very stealth heavy, you will end up on the first few islands with a lot of healing items, because you just find all the berries and nicking everyone else's stuff. If you play the thief, you end up kind of OP. So if you just steal everything that's not nailed down, kind of breaks the game a little bit. Caltrops last longer. I was always tempted to use them, but I never used them because I found out a way of how to. Because my way of defeating the jogger is to just stand in the road and just clothesline him. So it'd be interesting if you add that, like a running clothesline. You already have the bobbies can do a running clothesline. So yeah, it'd be cool if you add that for me sprint charge, bang, that would make sprinting more valuable. That's an idea. Only activate proximity suspicion when player is not moving. I found that was kind of OP, because I just walk, just tap N, glance, tap M again, and get walking again. I never really start suspicion that much. It's as soon as it worked out is that as long as you keep moving, no one cares. Then I just did that and just every now and then tap M. Most of the gameplay balance issues, they didn't really change that much. Although afterwards, in the section that comes soon enough in the encounters things, they changed how you get plague. Well, not necessarily how you get plague, it's when you get plague. Because one of the big issues I had was you can get plague on the first island when you can't physically get a cure yet. Because you can get the plague during a quest, during a side quest, and you can only get the cure to the plague on the second island. So you can get it within your first hours, and then stand no chance of survival practically. That is one thing they changed in one of the other ones. The other ones, I think it's in the encounters one. So if you go to the world generation and resources, they added a whole thing about shell houses. Wasn't that much of a problem. I think having less of them is quite good, because it made me being chased far too easy. Just jump over them. Although every now and then I did fall through them. Not through the world. It's just you go dunk and you just drop down a foot and you have to climb out. So you end up being like knee deep in rubble. That's one thing. That's one of the bugs I always have, which doesn't seem to be fixed. But yeah, it's not necessarily game breaking, and it's I just climb on jump. If you start jumping on everything, every now and then you will fall through a texture, not to the death, but up to your knees. They changed some textures, updated some textures, so they didn't bug out. I didn't really see that many texture bug outs. All the textures seem to be rather alright. Pop-in was a problem, which I was quite surprised about, but that probably just comes down to optimization. Cricket bats require less space inventory. That was good, because I spent ages trying to get a spiked cricket bat. That took up my inventory for so long. Brown berries can stack higher, or stack the same as blue currants, which is good. I can carry more of them, which kind of makes it even more OP than it was before. Again, same as the gameplay ones. The world generation resources thing hasn't changed that much. It fixed a lot of the graphical bugs, but I didn't really run into graphical bugs. In regards to graphical bugs that I had, there was one bug that I have, which I have a screenshot of, which I'm probably going to show up here, is during the world generation of one of the more recent hamlins that I had. It spawned very broad and very grid, which was quite alright, except when you had one of the back streets on the cliffs. There was another bug which I made a little note here, was one time when I was sitting on a bench reading the paper, a man came along and then sat on me, and then put his head in his hands, got up and walked off. That was a bit weird. Now on to the encounters. The encounters is quite interesting, because I have one of the most frequent bugs, or the most frequent selection of bugs that I had, were around the encounters. There was the one bug that happened every single time I did the quest, was there's the sub-quest of when you're at a roundabout, you take joy at night and you see a ghost, and then the ghost walks off to a grave. Except for me, that never happened. Ever. Through multiple saves, you would go there at night, ghost would appear, and then in little blue text in the top corner it says "Go to grave." I was like, and first thing that went through my mind is, no, yeah, that text is supposed to be interacting the player model. And there was even one time I took the joy pill, made the ghost appear, sprinted to the grave, because I already know where it was, sprinted straight to the grave, took more joy pills to make sure I had enough joy so it was continuous, got to the grave, dig icon appeared, but I couldn't dig the grave because the ghost model hadn't been there. That was a pain in the ass, because that one, I am extremely intrigued by that one. the story of that and the blue convertible, because this comes up in Hamlin as well. And I could never complete it because the player model never moved. It just, every single time, little blue text came up saying, go to grave. It never worked. It never worked. It was a giant pain in the arse, and it annoyed me so. For other gameplay bugs, there was a couple of bugs I had with people I had taken down. I would take down someone, they would fall to the floor, and then ragdoll around, pitching about, and then land on the floor, but they'll be dead. They'll be dead. It's like, great. Yeah, after a while I started the whole thing of just knocking them out and using a stick to bash them over the head and kill them with, because it was like, no, you're staying, ding, don't want you going anywhere. As for game breaking bugs as well, we are going to get into some of the other bug fixes that were there. One of them is fixed, as it specifically mentioned, is annoying. Why are these dumb ropes here bug fixed? That refers to the Doll in the Dollhouse quest, where the bear falls out of the chair that it's in, and you can just pick up the plot-centric bear, and then the alarm doesn't go off, so you can just wander off. That only happened to me once. I did the quest a couple of times, but that only happened to me once. So, that, more than anything, was kind of funny. More than anything else, because I did it, and then another save, the bear fell out. It was like, okay, fine. There is some reference to the bugs around the mushroom log. That was where the only crash I had. The game only crashed once, and that was around the mushroom log, and I don't know why. Because the thing that happened with me was that at about 10 to 7 at night, I got to the mushroom log, everyone started talking, and then it went daylight, everything it went to 7 o'clock, everything despawned, everyone still kept on talking, so I sprinted out going, right, it's going to bug out, sprint out to make sure I couldn't hear them anymore, because I could just redo it the day after. And then that night I came back, sat behind, they continued where they left off for about a line and a half, stopped talking again, and then looped round, said about half a line, then the entire game crashed. So that is probably one that's fixed. They say that they fixed bug fixes, not including but limited to progression, and they just say mushroom log. So I assume that's one that they've done. They don't mention it specifically, so I assume that's one that they've fixed. They have ones with Faraday's Workshop. Faraday's Workshop was one of the other game-breaking bugs that I had. It was for the final trap, unless you're wearing the rubber suit, which you get from the House of Curious Affairs. I always call it the House of Curious Affairs. It's not the Curious Affairs, Curious Behaviours. I keep doing that wrong. The House of Curious Behaviours, unless you have the rubber suit, the GIMP suit, you will run up to the alarm and get electrocuted, and you twitch, and then you just keep getting electrocuted till you die. Unless you're wearing the rubber suit, where you can get to the alarm, get electrocuted. You lose the health, but you don't twitch. So you can just walk up to the alarm and fiddle with it. Before I found out you could do that, one time I sprinted to the thing, spun round, held down A. Turns out I opened the shutters. Shutters open. It's like, oh, okay. Ran off, ran back, fixed the trap, so the trap stopped, and then the shutters were already open. Faraday didn't spawn at all, and no matter how many times I would flick the lever, I even restarted the game, that never happened. So it'd be good to not activate the button prompt to open the shutters until you've done the thing, until you've disarmed the trap. Because otherwise, my thing of sprinting to it and disarming the trap, which you can do quick enough, we can do it quick enough, because I did that about 2 or 3 times before I worked out the GIMP suit plan. That's pretty much the only other game-breaking bug. The only other game-breaking bug which I had is one that they specifically mention somewhere. I know they do it because I've seen it before. It is that the tunnel, the quarantine tunnel, going from the sensory area thing to the Plague Island, as I basically called it, you would go in there and then get stuck, and it wouldn't open, and you can't get through. You can go the other way, but you can't go from the sort of the blank island to the Plague Island. That one is one they specifically mentioned that they have fixed, so that shouldn't happen anymore. That is good. That annoyed the shit out of me, because it meant that I had to spend fucking ages trying to get back to the mainland, if at all. Going to the island before was a fucking dead end. Oh yeah, the only other game-breaking bug that I had, which I was assuming that you can fix with a rubber suit, is the disarming all of the slappers. Disarming all the slappers. It didn't work. I repolarized them so they're purple and not hitting me. They didn't do that. Nothing happened. I even got to the point where I disarmed the whole thing, locked up the thing, got the quest notification that I had done it, went to try and get to Appleholm, and it didn't work, and I couldn't finish the game, and I was stuck on that island because of the plague. That annoyed the shit out of me when that happened. They made a substantial list of quest fixes, which is good. There was one audio one, which is going to come up now, which I might as well talk about now, with the Temple of Ham, Temple of Yam. Is it Temple of Yam? Yeah, it is Yam. Yeah. The Altar of Yam. With the Altar of Yam quest, where I completed it, everyone started bugging out. It didn't end. It was for hours. Even when the people had despawned, even got to the point where I went there and just started beating people in the head. They didn't die. They couldn't die. It annoyed the shit out of me. They make multiple references to fixing that one. Even in the audiovisual one, they say that they've dropped... Not in the audiovisual one, they also say that they've dropped the amount of time that they're twitching, gibbering for. Annoyed the hell out of me. Made me not want to go near the mountain again. Which was quite annoying because the invisible join night house thing was there as well. That I don't know how to do. I tried that. I bugged out the game and all doing that. Went in, got caught, fine, do it again. Went in, got caught, nothing happened. Just roaming around the house, unable to interact with anything, so I just got out and left. And for the HUD ones, they added a few more HUD options, updated a few of the HUD icons, made adjustments to the pickups. You can now track active quests, which is good, that I like. And then audiovisual ones, the only two that I had was the Altar of Yam one, which I said before, and just the cutting out of music, which annoyed me, but it would cut out and then just come back when it would come back anyway, which was, I don't know, probably a glitch in the program or something like that, I don't know. Didn't really do anything else. They add new barks to the NPC, new voiceovers, new wardrobe skins, new fixes to the clothes, added more selection of clothes and things like that, which is great, because there's only like 3 of them, or there was only 3 of them, which was irritating. Well, it wasn't necessarily irritating. You're just going, oh yeah, seeing the same people. But there was the line that he he kept on saying was, everyone looks the same. I wonder if that's a side effect that just stuck. That is a nice touch. Keep that line. That way you can have that. I can use that as a get out for there not being many different types of variants. When you have people like Hamlin, when you can have 20 people on screen at once. Yeah. So bug wise, it was the earlier version was extremely buggy. It was very, 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 very buggy. Not in the sense of it kept on crashing. I only had one crash, the crash that had that for the entire 40 hours, which is good. I've played games that are worse than that, so you have much applause for that. It didn't crash, only crashed once, and considering this is an alpha, well done. Yeah, there was a couple of graphical bugs, not the textures bugging out. I never had that. Like I said, popping was a big problem, but that could be sorted with optimization. And and popping was much more noticeable on this PC than the PC downstairs. PC downstairs, which is much better built, much better power than this one, like 4 or 5 times more powerful, wasn't necessarily that much of a problem. In the first intro, if you watch the video that I did with the first gameplay thing, you can see when you wake up, you can see the textures, and then it pops in. That was pretty much the times when it happened. Otherwise, it never really happened, which is good, because it looked very good. A lot of the bugs that they say that he fixed, I never actually ran into. A lot of the graphical bugs, the audio bugs, I didn't really run into any of them. Oh yes, seeing that, mysterious chest. That was another bug that I had, down to the point where you would unlock it, and then nothing would happen. You couldn't open it, couldn't interact with it. It would just become this sort of air model thing where you can stand and be waist deep in a chest. That was more irritating because you just couldn't complete the quest. You would unlock it and you couldn't open it. Although there was a couple of times, although every now and then when you would go back to main menu or come back or restart the game and come back, it would be fine. Which was weird. It had to be something like memory or something for it. As with how the bugs go, pretty much talked quite briefly about the bugs that I had. Most of the bugs that I had weren't game-breaking bugs. They weren't substantial problems. It was some problems with clipping, some problems with the people, some problems with the people and the player models and the sound every now and then. Really not as much. Some quests were substantially bugged out, others not so much. So I think the thing to do now is to go back to the line that I finished my review with, and that was saying, with the game, it was me saying, I can't wholly recommend the game because it's buggy and fairly unfinished. Not really much to it as yet, but put it to your wish lists because it's going to be great upon release. Would I still say that? Yes. Although, if the patches, the bug patches and other things like that, because this patch hasn't really changed the core game to a substantial degree. It hasn't changed that much about the game. It's added a few things, fixed a few things. It's fixed a lot of bugs, but it hasn't really added that much or fixed the major core problems that I have with the game. Plague, the fix to Plague is very good, and I very much applaud you for that. That I like. That is very good. Make Plague harder to get, or at least not able to get the Plague on the first island. If you get the Plague on the second island, good. That's fine. The cure. That's where the cure is. Make them panic. Make them panic when they get it, but make sure that they have the ability to cure themselves when they get it, or they can. So fixing that stuff, very good. Very much applause to you for that. But yeah. Otherwise, the game hasn't really added that much or changed that much over this patch. But if the updates are going to be as substantial bug fixes as they were for this one, and they're going to periodically add more things, with a big story update when the thing goes to full release, that is going to be amazing. And it shows that there are going to be a very long process of balancing, especially because it's a survival game. Even though it's single player, I don't really have that much of a problem with the survival aspect and the crafting. I actually quite like it. Other people don't. I do. I do. I like the survival aspect of the whole thing because it feels like you're resisting against people with batons. So would I recommend the game as is? With the patch, no. I still pretty much stand by what I said, but its bugginess is going to go down substantially very quickly if the bug fixes are like this. And very few games, especially the ones in early access, can say that they are going through such substantial balancing and substantial bug fixes as this in as quick a time period as this. So, would I recommend people who, if you're interested in the game, if you're interested in We Happy Few, if We Happy Few interests you, go ahead and buy it. It's becoming less and less buggy pretty much by the week. By this point, by the week, it's getting fixes. So that is extremely good. If you're not entirely sold on it just yet, perhaps hold out for a little bit longer. Hold out a little bit longer. But yeah, if you are very interested in it, and if with all of the stuff that I have said and all of the stuff that every single YouTuber has done about it by this point, if you're interested in the game right now, buy it, because it is fucking amazing. Not as amazing as it could be, but it is certainly going somewhere, and it has set its eyes on where it wants to go, and it is going there. And so very much applause needs to go to Compulsion Studios for having that sort of conviction. And well done for the patch. It is bugs are not that much of a problem with me anymore. It's still not enough is there though.